size of the organization.
I'll call the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen meeting to order for Wednesday, January 18th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Any need for non-public?
Mr. Chairman, there is not.
Thank you. Consideration of minutes. December 7th.
Mr. Chairman, I have a change on page 7. And it is under G, sewer pump stations, second paragraph down, should read, Mrs. Murray questioned if the town was still paying on the $6.7 million bond on the RIB site. And on the next one, Article H, where the first paragraph, the end of the second sentence, it is right next to a public swimming area. That needs to be crossed out. It's not where it was. Those are my only changes.
Any other changes? Somebody make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll make it. I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, December 21st, 2022. These are still minutes. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
January 4th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to accept as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
January 10th, 2023, special meeting.
I have one change, and it's just a typo. Down the last paragraph, it should be SRO instead of RSO. About 3 of them. That's all I have.
Okay,
I'll make a
motion is amended.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearings, temporary event permit application. Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen consider a temporary event permit for the New England Ice Yacht Association to host a vintage boat gathering on the ice, pretty optimistic, in the area of Brewster Beach. Is requesting to use the town-owned parking lot and access over Brewster Beach to access the event. This would be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., February 3rd, 2023 to February 5th, 2023. Anybody here to talk for that event? Yes, sir. You come up to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Charles Sylvanus, the local representative for the New England Ice Yacht Association. Obviously, we are optimists, and you know this is something that may or may not go on. That's just gonna definitely be dependent on weather and ice.
Yeah.
So we'd like to take a couple of ice dates instead of rain dates if possible. We don't want to interfere with the fishing derby if that goes on, which would be the next weekend. But we'd like to get it in by February, the end of February, if that's at all possible.
Well, we can't predict the ice conditions either, so I think you'd almost have to come back to us. You know, if you want to push it out till the end of February.
Can we give them a rain date or ice in
I
date?
suppose we could.
I did put on the application for the 3rd weekend and the 4th weekend, again, depending on if it's going to happen.
So February 17th?
Yep.
And
the 19th.
February 24th?
Correct.
Correct.
17th.
So it's 2/17 through
Is
2/19.
that interfering with anything that we know of? Christine,
24
do
to 26.
you know if that interferes with anything on your side? 17th or 24th? No. Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody else want to speak to us about it?
Just me?
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Board?
You want me to wing a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, move to issue a temporary event permit for the New England Ice Yacht Association, pending ice, to host a vintage boat gathering on the ice in the area of Brewster Beach. He is requesting to use the town-owned parking lot and the access over Brewster Beach to access the event. This would be from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. from February 3rd, 2023 to February 5th, 2023, with dates pending ice on February 2nd, 17th, 2023 to February 19th, 2023, or February 24th, 2023 to February 26th, 2023. Permit number 2023-7, contingent upon okay with Brewster, Marine Patrol permission, and insurance certificate naming the town of Wolfeboro.
I did check with the Marine, and they said it's not their jurisdiction, just notify Fish and Game if and when it takes place. And what was the other thing?
Insurance certificate.
Insurance. The club does have insurance policy, and I talked to the Commodore and Vice Commodore, and they said it's enough to cover everything.
Okay, can you submit a copy of your insurance certificate to our town manager's office?
I can get a copy of that, yes.
Thank you
And
very
we
much.
also
Okay.
need permission from Brewster Academy, because the parking lot's ours, the beach is Brewster Academy. Oh, Christine.
I actually reached out to Brewster and got permission.
Okay.
I would just ask that if it does change the dates, if you could just let me know and I could let them know.
Definitely.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just a clerical issue. I believe Brian said 7 p.m. You want it till 9 p.m.
Sometimes if the wind dies and they're out on the ice, they have to push and walk back. So,
So you want,
it's a good exercise program.
so 9 PM, from 6 to 9 PM, is that when you want it?
6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured
All those
most
in
people-
favor?
Aye.
Hope for ice.
Yes.
Hey, the Wolfboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfboro Garden Club to host their annual wreath fundraiser at Railroad Station on Railroad Avenue from November, this is for next year, November 12th, 2023, November 19th, 2023, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Anybody here to talk to that? Okay, anybody want to speak to it in the public? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Board?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First of all, and I think that the model railroad only wanted to use that area in the spring. They didn't say anything about the fall, so that's it.
Yeah.
Second thing is that we have furniture in there and items from the summer rentals, and we've run into, when we did the escape house, it was in the way, and at this point, I thought that space was to be empty. So I think we need to follow up on that. Other than that, I'm fine.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to approve this?
Move to issue a temporary event permit to the Wolfeboro Garden Club to host their annual wreath fundraiser at the railroad station on Railroad Ave from November 12th, 2023 through November 19th, 2023, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Permit number 2023-8, and it's contingent upon receiving a insurance certificate prior to the event.
Are you willing to add to that, and that they do not change the locks on the doors?
And they do not change the locks on the doors. Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanticipated funds grant. Wolfboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 18th, 2023 at 6:30 in the Great Hall of Wolfeboro Town Hall for the acceptance of unanticipated funds less than $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to the Wolfeboro Milfoil Committee to receive a 2023 exotic aquatic plant control grant from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for expenses incurred in the prevention of exotic species aquatic plant control in the amount up to $6,438. Jim, do we have
So this is
any more information on that? or-
pretty straightforward. It's a grant
Yep.
to take care of these species. One thing that I would suggest you do when you make the motion would be to authorize me to sign it.
This is a grant that the Milfoil Committee applies for each year that offsets the harvesting of milfoil in Back Bay.
All right, somebody want to make a motion for this grant?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept and to authorize the town manager to sign a grant request and accept the unanticipated funds less than $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95B3A relative to Wolfeboro Milfoil Committee to receive a 2023 exotic aquatic plant control grant from New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for expenses incurred in the prevention of exotic species aquatic plant control in the amount of up to $6,438.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 18th, 2023 at 6:30 PM in the Great Hall of Wolfeboro Town Hall for the acceptance unanticipated funds less than $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to the building resilient infrastructure communities presented in the amount of $9,000 grant funds for updating the local hazardous mitigation plan. Total cost for this project is $12,000, in which the town will be responsible for 25%, in-kind match, $3,000.
Thank
Are
you.
you speaking to this?
Yes, please. Tom Zotti, Fire Chief, Emergency Management Director. A couple of weeks ago, received notification that the town's hazard mitigation plan is due for its, I believe it's 5-year update. I also received a grant application, which has resulted in what you see before you. I've since learned that the town's 25% share can actually be met in kind with volunteer time and so forth. So I feel pretty comfortable saying in the course of the next 12 months or so, as this progresses, we'll have more than enough time in committee and so forth to meet our $3,000 share without actually outlay of cash. The original request by me to appear on the agenda was because it came with a rather extensive signature page to accept it and so forth, and they've since retracted that and gone back to what I understand was the older system. The state Homeland Security Emergency Management will contract directly with, in our case, Lakes Region Planning Commission, who has done the last 3 or 4 updates for us. I've spoken to them. They are happy to oblige. They're in the process of working it into their work schedule over the next 12 months or so as this moves forward. That said, I think at this point, I just wanted to say that as this moves, we will be looking to form a committee. It will involve some department heads, and I assume at least a representative from the board and so forth, to review the plan and make suggested changes. And Lake Region Planning Commission will do the bulk of the legwork and administer the grant in our behalf. And I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
Any other questions for Tom?
The plan that exists, it runs through the middle of 2024, so we have a fair amount of time, but might as well get started, I guess, is
Yep.
the point.
Okay. Any other information from the public? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Board, somebody want to make a motion on this?
So should the motion include in-kind match of 3,000 or 3,000, or an in-kind match of 3,000 or volunteer hours?
It's synonymous.
Yeah, that's what in-kind means. Yeah.
Move that the Board of Selectmen accepts the terms of the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities as presented in the amount of $9,000 grant funds for updating the local hazard mitigation plan. The total cost of this project is $12,000, in which the town will be responsible for 25% in-kind match, $3,000, and to authorize the town manager to sign the grant request.
I'll second.
Okay, anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next is bulk vote. Weekly
Mr. Chairman, I want to point out that B, property tax refund and abatement, should read denial. And I don't know how exactly you want to deal with that, because we can't really accept as written, whether you want to remove that and vote on that denial separately and vote whatever way you'd like to do it, but it is a denial based on the paperwork we received.
Okay, we could, can we just put slash denials?
As long as it gets recorded correctly. So we're just going to put slash denial, and when the secretary does it, make sure that denial's there. I'm fine with that.
Okay. We'll add that to B then.
Yes.
So we got A, weekly manifest, B, property tax refunds, abatements, and denials. C, application for current use assessment, and D, intent to cut warrant.
I'll make a motion to approve bulk vote items A through D with the caveat that in item B, the property tax refund and abatement be added to that it's a denial.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next is board committee appointments. We have a letter of resignation from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Tim Cronin, term expires 2024, so they will have to appoint somebody themselves. Okay, also, we have an appointment to Wolfeboro Waters Committee for Julie Brown. Term will expire in 2026.
I can speak to that. Julie Brown is the director of the Wentworth Watershed Association. She has been attending Wolfeboro Waters meetings, and the committee voted earlier this month to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that she be appointed to the Wolfeboro Waters Committee. And I'll make that motion to appoint Julie Brown to the Wolfeboro Waters Committee, term ending 2026.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
New business. Request for Josephine Amatucci, idea for a town raffle.
Good evening. My name is Josephine Amatucci. In our compassion for the poor, we, the people, propose that the town hold a regular charitable raffle game, online or other means. A charitable raffle where raffle tickets will sell for $5 each, and the proceeds will be split evenly to the winning ticket and to a charity as monitored by the town in the distribution of the remaining 50% of the funds. We propose that only 6,000 tickets will be sold at one event, so that the odds of winning the raffle will be great and lessen the competition. That there be a weekly raffle or a bi-monthly raffle, whatever the town elects to run. It is to be noted that this is a public organization, not private, where there is going to be no leader, no marketing, no business staff, no accountant, and all the expenses will not be, and these expenses will never be paid out. There is going to be no profit for anyone, except as for the winning ticket and the charity of the choice of the town. There are no owners, no employees, no shareholders, and no paid workforce. Every penny is gonna go to the poor. Thank you.
Anybody have any comments at this point?
Jim, do you have anything you'd like to say about this? Do you have any, maybe have we talked to town council or anything on this?
I think there is a part of the
Yeah.
email in our packet from town council, and it says, he cites the RSA Chapter 287-A, which is the statute that allows charitable organizations to run raffles. And in conclusion, he says, there is nothing in RSA Chapter 287-A that grants a municipality the authority to run a raffle.
I had it all before the State Lottery Commission, before I came here, to make sure that everything was the law. And they said it was a wonderful idea, and the municipality has control over raffles, not the state.
Yes, we have control over raffles, but we haven't been granted from the state the authority to run a raffle. If what we got in this opinion from town council is correct, is that what you understand, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, the way I understood the interpretation that came forward, the legal counsel felt that it would not be a good idea for the town to get involved in a raffle if there was a nonprofit that wanted to work with Ms. Zamatucci to go forward with the raffle. That would be the recommended mechanism to follow based on his legal opinion.
Okay, wait a minute. I don't understand. Are you saying that the municipality doesn't have the authority to run a raffle?
He's recommending in his legal opinion that we do not get into the business of running a raffle.
I don't care about his legal opinion. I passed this by the state, and they told me, you go ahead because the municipality has the control. So if you have the control, I don't care what the lawyer says, what his opinion is. I care about the law. And the law tells me you have to do it because we, the people, we own this town.
Okay. I read it the same as Jim does, that he's recommending that we do not get in the raffle business, but he's also saying that Mrs. Amatucci can run a raffle if she wants, separately from us. So I don't know what you want to do with that. At this time, I think that I will make a motion that we not get involved in a raffle at this time because of what town council has said to us.
Well, don't you think it's up to the people? Don't you think the people should come here and vote? I think it's up to the people, not up to a lawyer who has his own opinion. And it's never for the people, that's for sure. They never benefit the people. They benefit you people, and I don't know how you people are not getting benefited when you're not helping the poor. You have to help the poor.
I think we do that, but I've made a motion. Do I have a second?
There's too much need out
Second.
there. There's too much need.
Okay, it's been,
Well, don't you think now the
Motion
people should
made and
vote? I think the people should vote.
we have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded in reference to this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
What reason did the lawyer give? Could you make that clear to me? Just his opinion, or is he given a legal reason?
He gave us an opinion. Mr. Pinio, actually Amy sent him a
Could you talk more loudly, honey? What opinion did he give? Is it a
says here,
legal, is it a legal right?
long story short, Mrs. Amatucci can run a raffle if she wants, but I would not recommend the town doing so. And up above,
Did he give a reason why he would not recommend it? What is the reason?
it says here, well, this is from our attorney. I spoke with the compliance person at the Lottery Commission. A raffle, which is how they would characterize Ms. Amatucci's proposal, is not subject to the jurisdiction of the Lottery Commission. Under RSA Chapter 287-A, charitable organization may run a raffle. A permitting raffle requires a permit from the Board of Selectmen. Charitable organization may run a raffle without a permit so long as the tickets are sold at an event lasting 12 hours or less. RSA 287-A72. There is nothing in RSA Chapter 287A that grants a municipality the authority to run a raffle. So in other words, we're voting, or just voted, to not recommend that the town get involved in a raffle.
All right, but there's nothing to say that they're not, he said nothing, there's nothing said that gives them the authority, but nothing is said that does not give them authority.
So Wolfboro.
Am I right?
So
There's nothing that does not give you authority.
The state of New Hampshire is a Dillon rule state.
It's a what?
A Dillon rule state. And as a Dillon rule state, we are granted our authority by what the state government allows us to do. So we cannot make up jurisdictions of things we want to do unless it's dictated by the state that we are allowed to do that.
That I contacted the state lottery department.
But the RSA says that does not give us specific.
I read the RSA.
It does not give us permission to do so as a municipality. Therefore, we're not allowed to do it because New Hampshire is a Dillon rule state.
A nonprofit.
No.
Well, you don't pay taxes, right? You don't pay federal taxes, do you? Anybody that doesn't pay federal taxes is a nonprofit.
We're a governmental entity. We're a governmental entity, not a nonprofit.
We would have to be a 501(c)(3).
We're under another part of the RSA code.
Yeah.
Okay, you're saying that you don't want to take the authority personally, right? So why don't you select someone in the town that's a nonprofit to do it? You make the move.
It's up to
You
you.
select someone, you have plenty of
No.
charities in town, so select one, but it's gonna be done. It's gonna be done. And you have control over quite a few nonprofits, because you give them the authority, so give them the authority to do this.
Okay.
And it's gonna all be done online. It's gonna be nobody's work, that they have to sit all day, and it's gonna be done all online. So, you don't want the authority, give it to a nonprofit. It's gonna be done.
Well, if
It's
they
gonna
want to come,
happen.
if they want to come before us, they can make an appointment to do so. We just voted to not get involved in the raffle. So moving right along, approval.
You're not going to be involved. You're going to recommend someone that's
No.
going to be involved.
No, we're not. No.
Why? Can I ask why?
Because it's not up to us to do that. If somebody finds out, or you contact an authority or a nonprofit group and have them come back to us with what you want to do. Or you can do it yourself. That's what it said. That's the recommendation from our attorney, and that's what we're going to do.
But
We just did.
I want the money only in your hands. I don't
No.
want the money in my hands. That's
No.
why I'm coming to you. I don't want anybody to touch any of the money.
We just voted to not do that.
And what about what the people want? Do you do what the people want in this town? Or do you listen to lawyers who tell you what to do? You have to, we tell you what to do. We own this town. We own this town.
Okay, next on our agenda is annual re-acceptance of the emergency operations plan. Tom, is that you again?
It is. I apologize in advance. Recent events have kind of cut into my prep time for this, but
Yep.
Is this a raffle application?
I made copies of the results of our internal review and some proposed fairly minor changes in anticipation of our next emergency operations plan complete update, which is a couple of years out. In summary, the changes that we're proposing since the last annual update we did a little over a year ago, it was frankly updated contact information for staff. There's still a reference in the plan to the Lakes Region Air Park, which, as we know, doesn't exist. We're proposing to delete that and actually change the reference to Mountain View Field, which is the Penn Estates private airport. Probably the most significant change is on the advice of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We propose to add the Wolfeboro Public Library as recognized as a warming and cooling shelter. We have used it as such in the past. By including it in the plan, they said that would facilitate, make it a little easier for us to seek a grant for a generator and things like that that they've talked about. And I know we're in some degree of process. So with your consent, we'd like to make those changes. I do have the original page with signatures and stuff, which if I can leave with the town manager and you can leave in the office and to review at your leisure.
Do you know that if it's designated as a shelter, would we also be able to get additional grants for solar with a battery
I don't
backup?
specifically know the answer to that. The conversation I had with our contact at Homeland Security was that it would be easier if included in the plan to successfully apply for grants. If there's something out there that would address that issue, I assume it would help.
Okay, is this,
You want a motion?
yeah, I was just
Okay.
looking to see how it was worded here.
I move to adopt and sign the update emergency operation plan as presented at this meeting.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Next is discussion of snowmobile trail in downtown, Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, Mary DeVries. I'm here on behalf of the Wolfeboro Area Chamber of Commerce. And it is really winter. And many people in the community look forward to the much-needed snow so that we can fully enjoy the variety of recreation available in Wolfeboro during the winter months, and we believe including snowmobiling. We know the Wolfeboro Snowmobile Club works throughout the year to create trails, maintain trails, and so they're ready for that snow as well. The history of the snowmobile trail that we're asking to talk about tonight that you had received in advance, it shows a little bit about the research that was done that led our Chamber of Commerce to understand that if we want to attract snowmobile enthusiasts to Wolfeboro and to just think of Wolfeboro as a destination when they're traveling, that changes need to be made. And in the past, the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen has approved 2 significant changes. One is creating access from the lake when it's frozen into Wolfeboro at Dockside, and then also creating a trail that connects the Bridge Falls path, which is the end of the maintained trail by the Wolfeboro Snowmobile Club, to Dockside. Of course, this is all very dependent on weather. I think you have seen some pictures of times when the weather did cooperate and the snowmobilers did think of Wolfeboro as a destination, and we saw people walking on the sidewalks and in and out of the restaurants and shops wearing snowmobile suits and maybe carrying their snowmobile helmets as well. We look forward to the opportunity to see that again. We know it changes parking in that immediate area of the trail. The Chamber of Commerce never takes parking lightly, and in fact, those years ago, it was the Chamber who wrote the warrant article in favor of the town purchasing the property that is now the Glendon Street parking lot. Our approach to the snowmobilers is that we're sort of moving, if you will, parking spaces. So we're to bring them into the community, they need to park, so we're asking for Cape Park to be that parking area for snowmobilers. And we also want to recognize that the only way this happens is for the Wolfeboro Public Works to actually do the work of creating the snow along the roadway, to then have the Wolfeboro Snowmobile kindly come in and groom it and maintain it. The most important reason for us to ask permission to have this access created again is in support of the local economy, and especially in these months when we're not seeing the volume of people coming into Wolfeboro. So snowmobilers, again, they look for places that they can go and spend time in, and we would like the opportunity to capture those dollars. That's what we're asking for. I know there are people in the here tonight that represent Chamber Board of Directors, the business community, and Wolfeboro Snowmobile Club, if you have any other specific questions for the club.
Anybody have any comments?
One question. Snowmobilers do cross the road quite a lot. It's fairly easy to take and go from one trail across the street and then back if you need to or whatnot. Would it be possible if it really caused harm to Harmony Coffee to cross the street and go along the train station on one side and then cross back over to the rail trail? Is that possible?
So I would say that, of course, it's possible. I believe the riders on the machines are going to follow the trail. The Snowmobile Club and the Chamber working together will make sure there's any kind of signage to direct people. It seems to me that there was a conversation in past years about it ultimately working to best for everyone if that did not happen.
Okay. The other thing is I don't know if this is possible because we haven't planned, we haven't thought, but I've seen it done before where they put down rubber mats So right in front of Harmony, you could put a section of rubber mats. Snow would come down, they would go across the rubber mats and then back up onto a snow. So for that one little area, it wouldn't block off Harmony as much. And the rubber is just to protect the tracks on the snowmobiles and so on and so on.
Someone just brought that to my attention just a short time ago. So I don't have any experience with them, and I certainly don't have any of those mats on hand, but it's, I'm definitely going to investigate that.
Yeah, you might want to ask the Snowmobile Club themselves or the New Hampshire Snowmobile Association. They might have supplies available that might be able to help us out this year or whatnot.
And I can't speak for those organizations, but I do know that the president of the 2023 New Hampshire Snowmobile Association is also on the board for the Wolfeboro Snowmobile Club, and we're in communication with that person. Perfect. And it hasn't been offered up, if you will.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Linda?
Yeah, I have a couple of concerns. I have voted for this in the past, and every time when I got home, I got a call from the owner of where Sound Spectrum used to be, and failing that it had affected his ability to rent the building, that I got one today after I contacted him because he never knew that we were going to talk about it, and also the Mike Gray, who owns Harmony Coffee. And they have something out. It's not just the snowmobiles going by, but the smell. The other thing is we are now going to go by the Peter Ford building, which before Joe Green's used to be closed. There is going to be an entrance there, and I'm wondering whether we've really talked to that building to find out what the impact of the snowmobile trail coming down. I have no problem putting up a curtain and let them come on to Cape Park. I have no problem making the other end where we have more ability for them to park and to tell them about signs coming down. But I really am concerned about a new business, Harmony Coffee, part of the business community, that I think you'll have a bigger impact on them than anybody else. And that wasn't there before when we okayed it. So I think we have three restaurants that could be affected by this. So that really concerns me. I'm not willing to allow it to go down between the new docks, which has happened in the past. I would only put it on the Cape Park side. And one of the other things that always bothered me about it is it looks good for 1 or 2 days, and then you get this kind of dirty look to it, and I don't know exactly how you address that. So those are my initial comments on it.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to part
Sure.
of that? Thank you. So there are multiple business owners in the property that was referenced, and where the restaurants are separate from Harmony, so the other building that was referenced, and we have had in-person conversations with those owners, and they have told me they are in favor of it.
Okay.
We look forward to the opportunity to talk more about the why of this with the owners of Harmony Coffee House, so we have not had that in-person conversation with them. So I just wanted to answer that part.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Yes, with respect to especially the recent investment in the town and taxpayers made in the rebuilding of the town docks, that is, we're thinking the best approach would be, as far as the access from the lake, is what you described, to have a curtain and on Dock A, on that outside of that area, and access at that point, which we have had in those early years. That's where it was.
Okay. I have an issue personally with what we've done in the past with the snow and the dirty snow, as Linda has mentioned, and then in the spring it's usually a mess that we have to clean up. A lot of paper goods and stuff along both of those sides. The other problem I understand about the mats, that is, I don't know if you realize, but most of the snowmobiles today have very large studs on the bottom, and they tend to tear up stuff, particularly roadways. So I would certainly not want to have bare pavement from the railroad station down across Main Street and down into our parking lot at Cape Park. To me, that just doesn't make any sense. I don't know if the chamber has considered that, and Linda and I talked about this. At the end of the trail by the railroad station or the freight house where they could park, that you have a directional sign put there or on the railroad station itself, saying that the restaurants are here, the things are there, that they could read, they could park there and walk. Because in a lot of places they have to walk, like in Meredith, those places, they have to walk a ways after they get off their snowmobile. But if you have some kind of a directional sign, or a directional sign with some handouts, you know, folded up things that they could look at, that would make more sense to me. But we've had a lot of pushback about losing parking spaces. We've had pushback from the condo owners in the past. We've had a lot of pushback, you know, about crossing the street and so forth downtown. We realize at Brewster Field, most of them are going up to get gas at one of the gas stations. I don't have an issue with coming off onto Cape Park, you know, on that end where we've had it before, but I don't know if those docks next door are bubbled or not at this point. If there are ice heaters there or not, we'd have to look. But certainly, as you mentioned, we don't want to have to ice in those docks that we just spent a lot of money to have rebuilt. We certainly don't want that. So.
I brought up the signs at the EDC meeting. The same thing, could we just have signs in different locations? And I was told that people who ride snowmobiles tend to not walk far to get to locations that they want to get to. Maybe it's because they have so much gear, they don't want to leave their machines unattended. You know, they have the helmets and the huge coats and everything, but I had the same idea and the same suggestion that could we put signage up at Brewster Field, at Cape Park, and down at the train station? And people told me that snowmobilers don't do that.
Could I?
Oh. Brad?
Yeah, just want to comment here. In the past, when we've approved this, I've kind of lobbied for changing the sides of where we put it. I kind of wanted it on the other side of the road where the diagonal spaces are, at the time mainly because of the post office. So many people would park there on the left side of the road coming out to go into the post office there. And now that we've added the Harmony coffee shop in there, with their concerns about this, how it's going to affect their business, it kind of strengthens my thought on, you know, if we do this, to do it on that side of the road. Either way, you've got to have about the same amount of parking, because you have to, where we put it before, you'd have to change over to parallel parking on the right side going out anyway. So this would keep the parallel parking on the other side of the road, which would keep the customers available to park in front of Harmony there and go in and enjoy their coffee there, or sit in their igloo out there. And even the same thing, you know, as I was thinking now with the Latchaw building being, you know, redone and everything open in there, where it continues across the road to keep it on the Avery side of the building there, going down where those spaces are, and then they're into the parking lot at dockside. So that would be my preference if we did do this, to move it over to that side. Hopefully help out, you know, the businesses, you know, Harmony and the local Topia and Market 21 and the restaurant access on that side, not have a snowbank kind of interfering with people trying to walk up onto the sidewalk there and stuff. So those are kind of the concerns I had before, and kind of what I have now. So
I had the same thought as Brad. If we were considering, that side would be better. And we could certainly freeze in, not freeze in, but put a curtain in on that last dock A. And, you know, if we get a cold snap and, you know, it does freeze in pretty good between what used to be the Bowers docks and dock A, people could certainly walk up there. There's no guarantees anyways, but they could in years past when we did that, it was solid enough to get people up there. I don't know if this is going to be the year regardless with the lakeside, but we could certainly, I mean, I would certainly be willing to help the chamber out to, if the board was okay with getting a curtain in there, and we could certainly donate one to the chamber and try that again if we get to that point where it's going to freeze in, if the board's okay with it. But I think, I don't know if we're even going to have the snow this year to even do a snow road, but I mean, I think this is going to be something that has to play out every year, and we're going to kind of need to figure out if we're going to have the snow, and, you know, as town grows and as businesses, you know, come out, but it is a great idea. It does get people to downtown. I think, you know, anything we can do to get people into downtown during the winter just benefits the businesses down there. So I'm open to it. I think this may not be a good year for it, but, you know, maybe we try the dock portion of it this year, trying the curtain, and then maybe next year think more through the snow road or how we're going to do that.
Yeah, we'd have to ask the businesses too, on the other side, to make sure that they're okay now losing all their parking spots.
Well, it wasn't necessarily the parking spots. I think with the old Sound Spectrum and Harmony Coffee, it was the difficulty of the people getting in and that being right in front of their door. The other side, I think, becomes further away and less of a problem to them, but I sure would hope the chamber would speak with them, because they have had issues all along that building, and that's Grand Hatch. The other thing I'd like to do is have our Public Works Director come up and tell us whether if we bring it down that side and then we have to cut in and go into Kate Park with a trail, I don't know how they plow down there, and whether this is at all, whether he can manage this or wants to, no, I shouldn't say wants to, whether he can deal with it if we decide to grant it.
Steve Randall, Director of Public Works. Obviously, I wasn't here the last times these were built. My crew was, so we've spent a fair amount of time going over logistically how it was built, how it was maintained. Some of the big concerns that I have is the plugging of the catch basins on Central Ave. There's 3 on both sides of that road. So however you decide or not decide to shift that, that does become an issue to me. The heavy rains that we've had over the last 2 years, unfortunately, the water that poured down over the hill, even the other night, that road could flood very easily. So that's one concern. And we're talking about a loss of like close to 21 spots. So there's 14 diagonal on Central Ave and 2 parallel on the opposite of the post office side and 7 on the post office side. So however you shift that, you're going to have that loss of one side. The exit of Dockside has 5 spots. Those would be gone. The pictures I believe that Mary gave you show how it went on the marker 21 side. So again, even if you flip that, that is not that wide. I do have some pictures I took earlier. So obviously the docks going down the boat ramp, everybody figures is a bad idea. So cross that off the list. In and out of Kate Park, as they come around that corner, I don't know what their plan is, if they're going to run a snow road all the way around the corner to get through, I believe it was, she was going to run the path through the granite posts. So if that's going to have a snow road all the way around that corner, you have a handicap spot right there too, that would be gone. If they don't run that, you're going to run the picks right across all that new hot top. So that would be a concern. If you narrow that up, it does make it more difficult for us to maintain, but if that's what you vote, then we will make it work. Lastly is the cost. Based on what I was given for timing, that's a cost to the highway department of just to build it of about $8,000. It's got to be built at night, overtime, trucking, the machine power. Doesn't even include the cleanup. So those are my biggest concerns. You have any questions?
The only thing I would say is, I don't know if you ever saw it when it was built.
Only pictures.
Yeah, you know, so the way it was built last time, and I snowmobile a lot up north, that was like a snowmobile highway they built in the middle of town. It was way overkill in my perception of what needed to be done. It was way too tall and way too much snow. I mean, you need a few inches of snow and a 4 foot to 5 foot wide area, not a snowmobile highway to get people in and out.
Need a base.
Yeah, I understand, but not 3 feet tall. So I think it could be done a lot smaller than what it was.
So the discussions that we had was the width came about from the width of the groomer. That was designed for. And then the height, I guess the original was lower, and then people kept driving over it and backing over it. So it had to come up to avoid people parking and driving.
Okay.
So being that high, no one will drive on it. So that came about from, I guess, a trial and error.
Sure.
Steve, I'm very impressed with your analysis of this. Very. And your concern for the cost involved in it.
Well, we all have a budget.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Just one other point here that Steve kind of brought up. If we put the snow road in going down into dockside parking lot, you're going to really have to end it at the back of the buildings of either the the Avery building or the Latchaw building, because if you turn it and carry the snow road all the way through to Kate Park, you're going to seal off where their trash receptacles are, their ability to have the trash pickup for the restaurants there. So we're automatically going to be putting the machines down onto the pavement down through there with the tracks and stuff on the pavement, which you would mention earlier in your comments. So just want to make that distinction that that's the way it would have to happen, just for their access to their trash containers there.
Thanks, Steve.
Good evening, everyone. Lynn Palmer, I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Chamber. And actually, I was also on the Economic Development Committee of the Master Planning process from 2019. There's been a lot of thoughtful support and discussion of this over the years. And Mary has tried to reach out to both Mike and Sheriff, the owners of Harmony, who are also members, and she will have a thoughtful conversation with her. But I think it's important to also recognize that one of the objectives of that master plan is to promote and support year-round access to the Bridgefall Path and Cotton Valley Trail, and that some of the driver and motivation for doing this was the understanding that being able to bring people who are snowmobilers from the south into town and then continuing on through the trail system is a huge advantage. So I think it's important to recognize that this is very much in line with what we have stated as a town in support of a master plan. Thank you.
Kathy Fairman. I am a business owner here in town, and I am also a member of the Wolfeboro Economic Development Committee. And in the 10 years that I've served on the EDC here in town, over and over again, one of the things that the businesses in town ask us to do is everything we can to promote the fall, the winter, and the spring seasons, and especially the winter season. And I remember not that long ago, we had that wonderful trail that came through, and it brought people from the other side of the lake. Connecting the lakeside to the Bridgefall paths is really the objective there. It's not so that the people don't have to walk that distance. I don't think that's a problem of putting their snowmobiles here or Kate Park, but it's the connection so that they can go through and continue on, and they stop here along their way like they do other times of the year. So I just want to totally reiterate what Lynn just said as well, whether it was the survey done in 2014, whether it was the recap we held here just this very last fall when people came in, and more events, more things for people to do, promoting, working together to promote the off-season, especially the winter, is very important to our businesses in this community. So I know this will impact perhaps Harmony and the others. I had the same thought that you said, Brad. Let's move it over along the Avery block and along the other side of Central Ave, because there's very few businesses there. And I think that does make sense. The catch basin is something I hadn't thought of at all, so that's very important. So there are lots of logistics to look at, but please don't abandon this. This may not be the year it happens, although I understand there's a whole series of storms coming, started on Friday, that something may have changed here. So we may get a bunch of winter, who knows? But regardless, please don't abandon this. Let's really work hard to find a way to do it and keep that, because it's important for us to stand by our businesses in the wintertime too. Thank you.
Tom Zotti, Fire Chief. First off, I'd like to say that in principle, I have no particular objection to this. But I would like to point out that the events of the last 48 hours have illustrated in brilliant detail the value and importance of apparatus placement and access. The route I've seen that was provided when I learned this was going to be an agenda item raises concerns to me of access and maneuverability and ability to locate apparatus in what is frankly one of the more congested areas of town with the relatively large buildings in town. Having said that, if there's a way to do this with an adjustment to the route or use of these mats that would still allow us to maneuver around and on top of if we had to, I would have no particular objection, but I have to say I have some concerns about what its impact might be on our operations.
Okay, we've had some discussion.
Josh Cleland, Marker 21. I just want to say that, I can definitely understand, some of the concerns for aesthetics and, accessibility for the fire department, things like that. For us as a small business owner, I think, to kind of second what Lynn was saying and Ms. Eaton, is that, we're on board with anything that's really going to promote and benefit Wolfeboro small business as a whole year round, and kind of finding a way to take advantage of, winter season as well as summer season. We have a lot of, parents and single mothers, on our staff, and, people who rely on year-round income, and, for us doing anything that we can to benefit them and, to keep everybody going throughout the year is a huge, advantage for, so I think this could be a really good thing. So we definitely, at Market 21, we are on board with it. So that's what I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Tom Taylor from the Wolfeboro Snowmobile Club, and I also sit on the board for the New Hampshire Snowmobile Association. So basically, I was asked to come and answer any of the questions about the trail. Hearing your concerns about in front of Harmony with the rubber mat, can that be done? Yes, it just depends on where they would want the mat. If they're looking for, a 4-foot, 5-foot section, it might be difficult to bring the groomer over that, down and back up. But, there's also the possibility of starting the trail past where their entrance is. I haven't really gone and looked at the building. In regards to the tracks and the studs, you could see that the snowmobiles cross over at the top of Main Street there by both gas stations and over granite curbs and everything else. You don't get enough traffic that it's going to really affect the pavement, and you're going to have to worry about, repaving that. So I believe those were the two questions that Mary couldn't answer, about grooming and maintaining the trail. If there's any others.
Would the rubber mats, how long could you go, and would the tracks rip up the rubber mats?
No, our track, the snowmobile tracks?
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't. I mean, it depends on, we'd have to have the right sized matting and everything else. What we'd need to do that, I mean, our drag is, I think on this side is like 16 feet long, 8 feet wide. So, we'd have to have enough room to, bring the tractor down, lift the wheels up, and then, we'll set the drag back down on the other side. I mean, we can look at that and, we can work with the chamber, to make something that'll,
How much do those mats cost?
That I don't know.
Yeah, that was something I was going to suggest, that certainly by this time next year, I think we ought to look at the mats. That seems to me the most logical thing to do.
Right.
Because they can either be picked up or plowed over, I don't know which. We need to look into that.
Right.
That would make the most sense to me,
Yeah,
from my perspective.
right.
Again, the thickness of the mats, the size of the mats, how much they cost, who's going to pay for them, who's going to put them up and down. I'm assuming that the highway would. We'd have to store them somewhere.
Right.
So I think those things need to be looked at. And if we do it through the summer with the chamber, you people, there's a snowmobile club, and us, somebody from one of us, and figure it out. Because when I start thinking about Harmony being here, and then we have 7 businesses down this side of the street, and now we want to put the mats or move it over to that side, one person benefits, these 7 businesses lose. That doesn't make any sense to me mathematically. Okay? If we had the mats on the other side of the street like we've had before, that makes more sense to me. But, again, I don't have a business there. If all those businesses on that side don't care, fine, put it down that side.
Yeah.
It's closer, from
Yeah,
the station and stuff, and going across by the Avery. I agree with you, Brad. Makes more sense, but then you got to mat that all the way over. Because we're going to spend 50, 60 grand just on pavement when we redo Dockside. We just spent how much on docks? Quite a few $100,000 on dock space.
Yeah.
And we don't want to destroy that either. So
No.
I think this is something that needs more attention, needs to be looked at further, and I certainly would be glad to help out on that. Linda?
I would like us to get going on it. I would like to look at the 2 options, what the pluses and minuses are on one side of the road or the other side of the road, find out about the catch basins, find out about the mat, and have it brought back to us, because I think that if we do get a cold spell, we should at least know our options and our costs, so we are making a decision based on something. So I would like to see us get working on it sooner than later.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask the gentleman a couple questions about grooming. We built this road before the snow bridge. It was pretty much 12 feet wide at the base and 4 feet high. I've seen in places in northern New Hampshire where they've built these across bridges, and they're a matter of 4 feet wide, 2 feet tall, 3 feet tall. And they come in and they groom them with a drag behind a snow machine rather than the big machine. Is that something that's an option here to try and reduce the size of this thing? Because this thing is large, it's an impact on the highway department to do, and quite frankly, it is an eyesore.
Yeah. The club does not own anything that's smaller than our drags to groom a trail, so that option's out. Now, unless, somebody wants to donate something to the club, we're more than happy. But at this moment, we don't. Our drag is 8 feet wide, so, minimum 9, 10 feet. It doesn't have to be, 12 feet. And we just need ample enough snow to get on it. I understand the concern, I guess, was people were backing
If this is
over.
something that we were able to accommodate going forward in a planning avenue, is that something that the club would be able to investigate as to what the cost of a smaller drag behind a smaller machine may be to be able to provide that smoother surface?
It'd probably be a significant expense that, you know, takes a lot of fundraising to get that done.
How about the Nordic skier? Have you seen their equipment? Do they have something that would work for you that they use for cross-country ski trails?
I don't know what they have, so, but.
They may, I don't know. How about...
Well, what's their access to the trail?
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be the other thing, you know, how do they get it there?
How about what we use at Abenaki? Do we have any no small equipment at Abenaki? No. So, I mean, it's something, Steve Flagg is, you know Steve? He's the owner of the Nordic skier. His equipment is right down the end of Clough Road. Mm-hmm. So it isn't right there.
Right.
I don't know how you would get it there, but he might have a piece of equipment that's small enough and somehow, you know, I don't know if it's possible or not.
Yeah, that would be something that, you know, the chamber would probably have to work with them to see if they would, because obviously there's insurance and liability that falls into that too. And, you know, I'm sure that they don't want somebody from the club they may or may not, you know, I can't answer that.
Well, I'll be glad to be on that committee. I also have access to a drag that we used to use to groom trails.
Okay.
About 4 feet wide, 3 feet wide, probably 10 feet long. Steel.
Yeah, we just need something to pull it.
Could be dragged with it. Well, I used to have a 640 TNT with a 18-inch track that we'd pull it with.
Yeah.
But it can be pulled with a snow.
Yeah, and we may, you know, if that drag is available, you know, we probably have people that, you know, within the club that have a snowmobile or a side-by-side, you know, tracked side-by-side that would be willing to do that. You know,
if the chamber wants to put a group together, and I'd be glad to be on it.
I have a track side-by-side, a Pioneer 500.
That would pull it. I mean, you're only talking, you know, a little bit of trail, you know, you're not going up Moose Mountain with it. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate so much Tom being here to answer the questions specific to the trail, but I agree that there are some elements that were just mentioned that the Snowmobile Club, we certainly weren't asking them to take on that type of responsibility. And we have had our team put together for years now, have been doing the research on this and continuing to. So we're, you know, love to have additional input, but we too are ready to try to move as quickly as possible, whatever your decision, and to be there and make sure we have people hands-on available to help address any of the concerns and challenges that have been brought to our attention this evening. We're ready.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that were brought up tonight that haven't been discussed at all or discussed in any detail. So if you want to have a meeting, I'll be glad to come to any of the meetings.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a discussion with feasibility study Pop Whalen for outdoor pickleball.
Good evening again. Joe Santoro, New Hampshire Lakes Region Pickleball Club. We continue our quest to find a place to have a building, an indoor-outdoor facility. And the current proposal is to hire Norway Plains to investigate whether the site to the west of the Pop Whalen structure would be suitable. So hopefully you have before you the proposal by Norway to conduct a feasibility study to determine what can be done.
Yeah, we just got this tonight, Joe. We haven't had a chance, at least I haven't, to read the whole thing. But they're proposing a minimum amount of $3,500 plus
expenses.
We'd be added on to it. So we haven't discussed this yet because we just got it. So
I have a question, Joe. Is the pickleball club willing to pay this expense?
Yes.
So it's not coming off of us. It's
Okay,
going
well,
to
I
be
didn't-
Would be donating the money.
for, you know, we've talked with the pickleball club, we've looked down at Frost Field, and that really isn't going to work. Joe came up to the opening of Pop Whalen, and Victor Druin and Joe started talking. Joe and I started to talk about, we have a period of time where pickleball could use the Pop Whalen Arena in the spring, which would help that enterprise fund, and look at land there for possible outdoor and making that the pickleball spot. And to me, it is a perfect idea to go investigate. And if they're willing to pay the $3,500 to do it, and it's an area we're not using, I can't see why we wouldn't move forward with this.
No, I hope that there's enough room there. I did some numbers with Joe that night, and the courts would be almost the same size as the building itself. And there is a little bit of wetlands on the side, but hopefully, I hope it fits in, because it would be a great location for it. Another thing that I thought about was during the winter, and we don't have the weather that we used to have, but it might be something that we could do an outdoor rink on top of it. If we have a good cold winter. I don't know if it's possible or not, but an outdoor rink would add something where people wouldn't have to go inside. If the rink was filled and being used, there would be an outside rink and we have the facilities there to take care of it.
Yeah, and hopefully that's what the feasibility study would prove. May I approach the bench?
I don't think so.
Oh, this is, okay, I got it. This is the garage.
It seems to me to be a better place to pursue than down there where we had all sorts of issues, you know, and if we can, at the outdoor and indoor, it seems like it's definitely worth looking at.
Well, we keep trying to find a place. It took Moses 40 years to find the promised land. I hope it doesn't take us that long.
I hope so, too. I'm comfortable making a motion that we enter into a preliminary site development review of the Lakes Region Pickleball Club with Norway Plains, and to accept a donation, and I think we have to have it on our agenda, of $3,500 plus whatever expenses be paid.
3,000.
Excuse me, $3,500 plus
Plus
expenses be donated back to the town by the pickleball club.
Second.
Okay.
Let me ask you a procedural question. How does the billing work? Do we pay you directly and you pay Norway Plains?
So I'll reach out to Randy tomorrow. I'll CC you on it. I'll get the contract signed back to Randy. He'll bill us directly, and we'll pay for it. And
reimburse you?
You just reimburse us, and we'll get that notice for the next meeting to be able to accept those funds.
Good, thank you.
Should we have something in writing to?
Yeah, I'll take care of it tomorrow morning when I deal with this with Randy.
All right. May I have the pictures back?
Sure. Can we keep one for the file? Okay.
You've got one right here.
Yeah.
Joe, do you have that electronically?
No.
Okay. I'll just ask Randy to I'll ask Randy to send it to me.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second in reference to this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thanks, Joe. Okay. Institutional exempt property policy and procedure assessing.
Okay, so I had a conversation with the assessor. He's putting together a place to have all of these documents readily available within the office and online as requested by the board. So I think we're in pretty good shape based on the requests that came forward after the previous meeting. So procedurally, I think we're good. You just need to approve and sign this evening.
Linda?
Yeah, I have a comment. I just really like this second bullet, and where we are going to do something that's not required by the statute, but annually, 30 days prior to the statutory deadline for the entities to file the required paperwork. The municipality will send via the mail first-class letter, reminder letter to annual deadline, and the link to the necessary files on our town website. I think that is great, and I think it shows that we can work with these entities.
Okay. We need to take any action other than...
I think you approved it already based on those changes, and then you just have to sign it this evening.
Okay.
Packet. That's what I recall.
Okay, payment in lieu of taxes, pilot agreement with Hearthstone Homes Assessing. This we've done for quite a few years.
Yes, and we're giving them a discount just under $4,000 above what we do to some nonprofits who we ask them not to pay. They pay only the town portion.
Town portion.
So, and we give them a little extra because of the services these provide for our residents.
I'll make a motion to approve the pilot agreement between the town and Hearthstone Homes, Inc. as presented.
Second.
Okay. Everybody understand what it means? Assuming we do. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Wolfeboro Energy Committee update.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Brian. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to keep this very brief. I'm happy to talk with any of you or answer questions more, but I'm going to skim over it pretty quickly to get to...
Nancy, would you just introduce yourself, please?
Oh, yes. I'm Nancy Hirschberg. I'm chair of the Energy Committee. So, just wanted to show you, we have a full committee. They are absolutely fantastic. 3 of the people actually work in energy and renewables and wind, engineers, and all sorts of stuff. And they've just been fantastic, including the Selectmen representative, Brian. So in the master plan is really our guidepost. And so we went through, each year we go through an annual planning process, which we did, I think, in August or September this year. And we identify how we're going to work to achieve these goals. The first 2 are about municipal energy efficiency, and that we're finalizing an energy tracking that will assist the town in the next step of setting goals and reducing energy. The next one with arrow number 4 is about renewable energy, and that's the one I want to talk with you about tonight. Some great opportunities there. The next one down is transportation energy, and this year, as you know, we installed the first EV charger in town, the first municipal one open to the public, and it's been hugely successful, so much positive feedback from it, and certainly in the summer was used, even in the fall was used more than we expected it to be as well. And the last one is about education, and we have one project in that area, and that is related to the solar, that there are some huge opportunities for, in particular, some of the bigger energy users in town to save a lot of money, and so we'll be meeting with them and telling them about those opportunities. So what I really wanted to talk about tonight is some opportunities that have come up with solar. As you know, fortunately, we are the luckiest town, not luck, it's intentional, because of work Barry did with our contract. We have the lowest electric rates in the state, and that contract expires in January of 27. None of us have crystal balls, but it's more than likely that the rates will go up at that time. We don't have no idea how much. Hopefully it won't be like he won't going out to having to go out to bid in this environment right now. But, and also I should say that I think that Barry might be on the phone, available if we have any questions right now. And the second is, this summer, the Inflation Reduction Act passed and provides huge opportunities to communities for many things, including solar. So, what that means in the past, because if you were a nonprofit or a municipality, you weren't eligible to get any of the tax credits because you don't pay taxes. So what they created in this act was something called direct pay. So now that 30% or 26% that a for-profit or business could get, individuals could get, we can now get. So right off the top, any solar projects, we can get that cost up. In addition, they have all sorts of grants. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. We had the state of New Hampshire Department of Energy do a web presentation for our group on all of the different grant opportunities, and it's just incredible. In addition, they have other parts of the act that they call bonus credits, that if you use, if the solar provider has a registered apprenticeship program or prevailing wage or whatever, you can stack these so that you could end up with paying, 1/4 of the price of a solar project. So it's a big opportunities here. So with that said, we'd like to get some information, go out there and get some information. We've identified on the committee 7 potential locations for municipal solar. One is the library, which is, we already have a ton of information because they already did it previously an RFQ and an RFP, so we have lots of information on that. The new public safety building, Pop Whalen. I did speak with Victor about that, and with Christine, and Abenaki Ski Lodge. I spoke with Public Works about the water treatment plant and the wastewater plant and the transfer station. So these are all places that, just because of the space, the roofs, the orientation, have solar potential. We don't know how much. There's many. We know almost nothing right now, to be honest. Those are just possible sites that we've identified. What we'd like to do now is seek information from solar providers on the feasibility of each of these projects. In addition to that, the solar providers will say they'll identify the feasibility of the site, but one really key piece of it is about the interconnection. And so Barry's already agreed and is moving forward with an analysis of the interconnection, so we don't get any surprises when we get the price on the solar and think that's the price, when there in fact might be some of our own grid interconnection work that needs to be done. So that's already in play. Then we would, once we have the information, we would work with those key stakeholders, whether it be the library or Pop Whalen or Public Works, to develop a project or projects. And we don't know if that's one project, we don't know if all of them are viable, spread them out over a period of years, or what. We would also, we've already started the process of doing the research and seeking, we'd like to seek some grant funding, obviously to reduce the cost as much as possible. And then bring a warrant article or more, could be over multiple period of years, bringing different warrant articles to the voters. So that is really what I just wanted to, we went to Jim said, okay, you have to bring the selectmen in so there's no surprises for them. So that's the plan. I'd like, any questions, concerns?
Nope, but I have information.
Okay.
We're still getting, in January, at least one charge every other day.
Wow.
We've had 320 charges in 6 months for a grand total of $913.75 in revenue, and 30% of it is what ends up being profit for the town of Wolfeboro.
That's great.
I will say this looks like a good plan. I would love to see more and more town facilities on solar, and I think it makes sense with this kind of grants out there. This is the time to move before we have to renegotiate a contract.
Yeah, thank you.
I can also just add, and I think Dave can attest to it, the last conversation about the public safety building with the latest design, the flat roofs, did take into consideration potentially having to upsize the structure to be able to accept solar. It would be minimal, but that is in the plans at this point, and it's what the numbers boil down to on the project. If it's something that we can tie in to have a solar array there, we will. If not, it'll be set up to be able to accommodate it in the future.
That's great.
Jim, I've actually seen a building where they took a flat roof and they put a solar structure on it so that it was pitched, so it actually took the snow load off the roof in the winter and created solar on the property year-round. So it's a way that we could actually help benefit the building and get electricity out of it. Also, we need to talk to, yes.
Tom, yeah, Pat's got that. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wolfeboro trolley, parking ordinance follow-up.
So Kathy reached out to me about a week or so ago asking if she could come in and speak on an update to her presentation in November. I said we would put her on the agenda. I had an action item to talk with the police commission. Based on the budget process, I simply have not had an opportunity to talk to the police commission. The night that I was hopeful to see Chairman Wood, I did not. But Kathy's here to speak on behalf of this. So Kathy, it's all yours.
I feel like the cat that came back. So basically I called Jim because I wondered what, if anything, had happened, what was in the process or whatever. It's been 2-3 months since I came in and we talked about it, and I didn't know if you'd had a chance to work with the police commission or the budget committee, and so I was just looking kind of an update in terms of what's happening.
Thanks for reminding us. These are the things that can get lost, particularly when we're going through the budget. But I, for one, would like to see that meeting take place, do the communication before we get into the summer, and figure out how it's going to be addressed.
Right. And I didn't know whether, there was any talk about including anything or any budgetary things that were up in the air. Like I thought when I heard about this possibility of an additional resource officer, a school resource officer that would be used for the 9 months at the school, whether those 2 months in order to make full employment might be used for something downtown. So that just might connected the dots that way in my brain. So, but there's lots of pieces to that, I understand. So, so I guess where we are is things are pretty much where they were, or that we're thinking those things are in the background talking. I don't know.
Linda?
Yeah, if you look at the Warren article, there is when the resource officer is not at the school, he becomes a regular police officer for the town. So that is another officer that comes on along with the one that's up there right now. So there would be two. So I would think it would be an opportune moment to see if we could direct what that person might want to do this summer.
So that's a potential. I honestly think too that could be a selling point to the people on that Warren article. In other words, if they knew that there was going to be a benefit, something that they would like to see, it might help reach them on that. So it might be something that would be, so I don't know. Is it appropriate, do you think, for me to reach out to the police commission on something like this?
Mm-hmm. I would.
Please.
Yeah.
You think that would be a good idea? Okay. Well, then I'll try to do that. I'll call
That's a
Steve.
better place than here, because we can't control the police department and their scheduling. That's why there's a commission.
I recognize that, Dave, but I also, look at the fact that I know you guys are really at the top of the pyramid in terms of that, but I do know there's a special kind of relationship there, and that, in trying to all work together, if you have to work together like you are on that resource officer, that position, how it's going to dovetail with the town.
Yeah, I think Jim can probably take that to the commissioner, to the chief, and remind him of it.
Yeah, I know the police department's already done some work on it. But I think, quite frankly, now that we've buttoned up the budget process, I can take this and have a conversation with the administration and with the police commission, and hopefully we can get a ball rolling. But I do believe they've already got some legwork done on it.
And I think it makes sense for you to go to the police commission, and it would not hurt you to call the head of the budget committee and give them the same as we follow up.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, warrant article, order, titles, etc. 2023 warrant.
Okay, so right now, Articles 11 through 34 are Board of Selectmen articles. You have in front of you the order and the title of those warrant articles. But what I'd like to be able to do tonight is to make this official, that this is going to be the configuration of the warrant articles, so that we could get this into Hampshire DRA and get their feedback on it. And then we, based on this afternoon's workshop, should have a brief conversation about the petition warrant.
Do you want a motion, or do you?
Please.
I'll make a motion that we accept the order of the 2023 warrant articles as presented to us tonight.
Second. Oh, and the titles.
And the titles.
Second.
11 through 34.
Well, it's
those
really
are ours.
11 through 40. It's what's on the sheet of paper is what I'm. You can add all the others if you want, but it's this piece of paper written.
Okay.
So Articles 35 through 40, the way we configured those was, first of all, the ones that had money attached to them went first, and that broke it into 2 tiers of warrant articles, and then we simply went by the order that we received them. This afternoon, we had a workshop with legal counsel. I think it was a good workshop. It was very informative. There was a lot of give and take. And we as a board, or you as a board, should decide whether or not you want to recommend, not recommend, or take no action on these warrant articles. So the first one up would be Article 35, the Carpenter School Playground, in the amount of $50,000. What's your decision as to what direction you'd like to head with that one?
I would make a motion to recommend.
I will second that one.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
You didn't vote. Oh. Luke didn't vote. I voted.
Okay. The second one is, I believe it's $81,000 for Cape Park ADA compliant ramp.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Beautification of town, and this one, there's a couple different ways of looking at the numbers. I believe Casey, when she programmed it in, added up the 11,000 and the 4,000, brought it up to for the DRA portal, brought it to the 14.5 number. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but in your wheelhouse as to what you'd like to do with it.
So I interpreted it the same way, that it was the 10.5 plus the 4,000, for a total of the 14.5. I think Nathan interpreted it the same way too when he was talking to us. So.
Is it?
I think Linda brought up a lot of good points on this earlier, personally. You know, and the more things that we take responsibility for that are given to us, you know, the more we're going to be continued to ask for taking over things when people give up on wanting to do them.
I think it's short money, and I think that we should let the voters decide whether or not they want that taken care of. But I also, added to that, think that there's a lot of incomplete information in it and things that I don't know. I still think we don't know where, if there's any budget from the Department of Public Works, and we don't know what it would cost to actually fix those beds. We don't have a quote from a local landscaper. So if we get $14,500, is it going to do the job? Is it not going to do the job? Where are we? Do we get half the beds filled? I just don't know.
We could vote all to abstain. So then we don't say yes, we don't say no,
Correct.
we just say, your choice.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we abstain on this warrant article.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Okay, so it'll basically read blank under it. as far
I'd
as-
go 0 yes, 0 no, 5 abstentions.
Okay, that you
So
want
they
to go
know
to 0,
that we
0?
took the time to vote on it, and that's, we didn't want to vote yes and we didn't want to vote no.
Okay. The next ones don't necessarily involve funds. It involves other items associated with town business. The first one, 38, is the establishment of a Parks and Rec Commission. I think it was a good dialogue we had relative to that. I think there's a lot of concerns. I know I have a lot of concerns about it. I think it's well-intended, but I don't think the RSAs match up well with the current operations of town in the form of government we use. I think we heard that loud and clear from legal counsel.
Motion to not recommend.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Not recommend.
Yep.
Okay, next one is prohibit expending of town funds toward banned books.
Now, do anybody have any history on why this exists?
I don't know any history other than what is happening around the country where.
No, it's what's happening in our state. Some representatives in our district.
Why didn't you just say in the beginning?
Why don't you tell us, Brian?
You know, you want to tell it, go ahead and tell it. You know, it looks like to me what's happening around the country.
So I won't mention Glenn Cordelli's name, but a representative in our district is going to the state and trying in his way to eliminate certain types of books that he doesn't like, and saying that they shouldn't be allowed in public libraries and shooting towards school libraries too. So a citizen came forward and said, if I can't do anything, maybe I can at least make it so that the selectmen won't allow town money to be spent for any process like that. It's kind of making a statement, that's about it.
Yeah, and I think that, and this, after Nathan had left, operationally, the library trustees, anyways, you as the board can make that recommendation, but at the end of the day, it's the library trustees.
So it's us just making a stance that we're okay with what's in our library. It's just a stand.
Yeah, I think it is just a stand, and it's to say whether we believe, whether we want books taken out of our library, and whatever, somebody decides. And I'd feel comfortable voting yes, and as you're saying, the reality is the library trustees can either agree with us or not.
So I'll make a motion to recommend Article 39, prohibit expending town funds towards banning books.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. Takeaway on that is if it passes, we're just gonna have a letter drafted, ready to send off to
We've
the
done our
parties, no big deal.
obligation. Yep.
And 40, mountain bike trail acceptance and construction.
Uh-oh. Mountain bike.
This one, I totally support the mountain bike trails. I have the problem with this one when you get to 3, except up to 3 300,000 of financial donation for future trails. And what we were told by our attorney that we'd have to accept that amount and spend that. And I'm not sure whether I want to spend that much money on bike trails up there. I support the bike trails. I have no problem what's up there, but I don't know. I have nothing to tell me what $300,000 worth of added bike trails will encompass up there. I still want to see our cross-country skis. I want to still have snowshoe trails. I want to have some bike trails that you just kind of wander around through the woods, which are not machine-made. And then I'd like to have these mountain bike trails. So that is the piece. If that sentence wasn't there, I'd be okay.
With you, Linda, I also found out from someone that fat bikes have been riding around on those trails this winter, and when they do, they cross-country ski and snowshoe trails, and fat bikes damage cross-country ski and snowshoe trails. So we're having a little, thing happening there. What I have a problem with, and our counsel said this too, was he was talking about the town going forward, and if this group dissolves, about maintenance on the trails. Well, I asked for the financial statements or their 990s from the Single Track Alliance, and instead of giving us a detailed form that was itemized, their real 990, they gave us what was called postcard pictures. So it's a synopsis of what their 990 is. It showed that they had, I can't remember the exact number. It showed that they had a small amount of money in their account over the last 4 years, and they did not even give us the 2021 990. So we don't even have that, and that was filed, and I'm sure they have it. I don't know why they didn't forward it to us. I also asked for a copy of the MOU that they have with the Lakes Region Conservation Trust so we could see what kind of agreement they have with another organization and mirror our agreement with them, and that has not been forthcoming. So again, it's a situation where if I don't get complete information, I cannot support something. I need to know why. That's just me.
And I guess I can give a little room on that and wait until we start trying to get into a legal contract where we could, I would think, require them to have X amount of money in order to maintain the trail. So I can live with that. I just am not comfortable being forced to have to accept $300,000 in financial, not knowing where, what, how much. So that's. I support the bike trails, but I can't support this section of the warrant article. If I could,
can we change the number at the deliberative session, or?
I think that would be what I would suggest.
Could they come to the deliberative session and give us a synopsis of what they're going to spend the money on and the amount?
or they just do it out to zero, and that when they get something, they come to us and we accept it. I'd feel more comfortable if that went to zero, that they say that we accept up to, or $10 something minimal, and then we really can work with them, which is what I thought we were going to get, a kind of relationship.
I also asked, I had one of the Pathway Committee's people come to me and ask me if the Single Track Alliance was using their donation. Now, this is two private organizations working together. But he asked me, he said, do you know if they have the $42,000 that the Pathway Committee gave them, donated them through WEDCO to fix the stone dust trails? And he said because for a couple years he's been going on the stone dust trails in certain locations, especially on Abenaki, and has seen the trails washed out and no repairs. And they had an MOU with the Single Track Alliance, the Pathway Committee did, and asked them, well, the MOU says that they would use that money to fix the trails on Abenaki if they needed to be fixed. And it hasn't been done. That was another MOU that I asked for from the Single Track Alliance. I said, can you give me a copy of the MOU with the Pathways Committee? It can't be found by anybody, anywhere. It's gone, it's missing, it has not shown up anywhere. So again, According to their bank statement from 2020, 19, and 18, they have $50,000 in their bank. If they do, 42,000 of it could be the Pathways Committee or not. I don't know. Again, imperfect information. I need information.
Are you making a motion?
I would make a motion to not recommend.
I have a question.
Well, wait a minute. I'll second that so we can discuss. Go ahead, Lynn.
I just was trying to find out whether, if I would have done a motion to abstain, find out if they zeroed that out and whether we could vote again, the Budget Committee, after the deliberative session. That's what I was thinking.
We asked them to do some things and to write the warrant article with the anticipation that, I mean, I feel like when I was going down the road of asked them to write the warrant article, you know, there were obviously some things that people don't like right now, but my anticipation was they were going to write an article, and because of all the things that they'd done and we had talked about, I was going to be supportive of it, so I'd rather abstain now and then wait until they correct it and be able to support it, as opposed to saying no, sending a message that the board doesn't support it after all the meetings that we had about it.
I will meet you in the middle with that.
That's where I'd really like to support this, but that one
I'll take back my second.
And I'll withdraw my not recommend.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen abstain.
I'll second that. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Now,
So right now, it'll read 005.
I'm willing to contact them and talk to Chris Dow if the board would like me. You guys are I'm totally lost in space. I will contact Chris Dow and talk to him about it.
Okay.
Can you ask him for a copy of my MOUs?
You've already requested that.
Okay.
I will tell him that you're very
voted on the order
unhappy.
yet.
Which?
The order. We had a motion and a second, but we never had a vote.
On the order of this?
Yeah. I don't think we did.
No, I did
No, we did.
made a motion
Yeah, I
on
thought
We had a
we did.
motion and a second, but we didn't vote on it. We jumped right into the petition warrant articles, I thought.
All right.
Okay.
Thought we did.
Keep an eye on us, Brad.
I'm trying.
It's late.
Good, you can do it next year. All right. We had a motion to approve the warrant articles 11 through 40.
I made that motion,
Yeah.
and it was second. All we have to do is vote.
That's what I'm saying. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Maybe.
I guess we have nobody opposed.
Okay, so I guess our warrant is set. We will get it completed with DRA, and we'll be off to the races.
I can be.
Okay, town report summary, cover, dedication, memorials.
I have one change in the memorials under Steve Durgan. Steve Durgan was on the Wolfeboro Economic Development Committee, and he was on the Wolfeboro Ad Hoc Dock Committee. That should be what's there, not the, high school. It would fall in line with everything else. He spent a lot of time, good time, working with the town on those two committees.
I think the S in school should be capitalized too, under Steve Durgan.
He did not work at the Kingswood Regional High School. He was a middle school teacher. Because my daughter had him in middle school, so that's why
I think my wife had him too, and I thought he was in high school then. Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody else, we listed what they did in town. That's the
Right.
only reason I did, and he did it. He was on two committees. I know that he was a middle school teacher. I didn't.
Should George Vanderheiden be given something else? A generous benefactor of Wolfeboro, something?
I don't think that's up to us to deal with.
It's normally just the committees.
I think just on the committees is what we mostly done.
That would.
Yeah. Okay. Now, that takes care of part of it. Warrant article, let's see, town report board summary. Everybody okay with the summary from the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah.
Of some of the stuff we did, there certainly are things that aren't in here.
Amy's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Luke started, I added some, and Amy did, and I think the combination that we all put together, I like it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
What's the front?
Now, cover, dedication memorials are okay.
Well, I think we have a picture, it looked like, and I'm trying to get, that we have an option, depending upon what we do on
Right.
pictures, to have two different internal ones. So maybe we need to do there's this one, and this one that does the memorial. But I would suggest us do the cover and then maybe decide how we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I like this one as the cover here.
Yeah.
The mount at night.
Yeah, Brian's celebration.
Yeah. We put Brian's name under that?
No, no, thank you.
I would like to put that, then put the pop and the fire engine on the back. And we've done that other times, split the back.
You could put a collage on the back.
Here's this split
Yeah.
on the back of the
I like
town
this
hall. We did another one. That we have one in here. I mean, we did things like when we first started spraying. And the reason I say that, the Pop Whalen is up and running. To put it on another year's
Yeah.
report doesn't
But I
make
think
sense.
this picture of Pop Whalen,
Yeah.
I think that we have to probably get some little thing a little better, because I think that tower area is now complete,
Yeah.
The letter,
rather than just the
I
plywood.
had one that had the letter that I said.
Yeah, we
in
could have a
earlier.
more flattering picture of that. Hey, can you do a drone shot?
the pop.
The reason,
This looks
I
good.
had one that Victor put in here.
It
The
already
reason
has
I
the
like
wording
this
on
one better,
Do a
it's cleaned up.
This will look
What's up
better.
there now is still a construction site.
Yeah,
This is
but
the
they-
last
This is
time I
already a
was
drone. We already
there.
got one drone shot.
Has that been
I would
cleaned
take a
up,
better picture.
Jim, enough to?
It's been a
You have-
week.
That's a pretty good picture.
I'll know tomorrow morning when I'm up there.
Or down from higher.
I'll see if I can, I'll
Well,
see
why
what
don't
it
you
looks
see if
like.
you can get a better
And ask
picture?
Jason if he can kind of clear stuff out for 20 minutes to get a
Okay,
picture.
but,
And I'll forward it to you guys. for-
yeah, I have one that
That's
you
awful.
post the sign, get the
That's
sign
right,
and
no
post.
wonder why
Gotta
both
give
of
them-
All right, let's make a decision. We're going to put the mount on the front? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I think that's very
And then a
good.
split one on the back, I don't have any issue with that. The fire truck and the front of Pop Whalen, if we can get a better picture,
I think that should be that.
okay?
And then
Just
I
so
guess,
Amy knows, so we can move forward.
and then do we put this one inside? I'm not that excited about it, but
Why don't you put the two Pop Whalens on the back, an inside and an outside shot, and then put the fire truck on the inside right underneath the Mount Washington? Then we got everything covered and it's all together.
No,
I'll wash.
I like this, just this picture for the front.
No, this one for the front, but if we split the back, do
he
the
was
Pop
saying doing
Whalen
the back
for the
like,
back. Both pictures, the inside
The
and the
fire truck
outside.
as a memorial.
And the
Yeah.
fire truck is the memorial.
Okay, I
this
don't have any problem with that
That
either.
works for me.
okay.
Okay, you got that, Jim?
Then we get all
I think
four.
so.
Get your picture there?
You like that picture, Tom?
You got a nice,
We were talking about truck five.
you got a nice fire truck, Tom.
Okay, you got that, Jim?
Yep.
We understand where the pictures and everything are
I
going?
can no more than screw it up.
And we'll try to get a little better picture of the finish of the
Of the pop.
Pop
I'll see
Whalen.
what can make happen tomorrow.
Maybe, as Brian said, Luke could go up with his drone and take a picture so all this stuff in the front doesn't show.
The
You
other
might
one
even
we
get
could
this-
get is,
He could even get part of the ski hill in the background if he does it right.
I mean, Gunner found, be able to get us a real nice.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
let me see.
We okay with that?
Yeah.
Can we move on?
Yes, sir.
Never put my committees down.
Any other business?
Know if Jim, are you bringing up what happened at the grocery store in your report, or you are? Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Committee reports. Brian?
Budget committee, work session, EDC. What else did I do? There was one
Okay,
other one.
Luke?
I had a chamber. I think I've been to a couple budget committee things now. My mind's just, there's a lot of meetings, so, yes.
Linda?
I've been on 2 search committee meetings for the library. I went to the EDC, and I went to all those budget committee meetings. Seems like we were there every other day, right?
We were there every other day.
I think we were.
Yeah, I had a building committee meeting for the public safety building. Brad?
Yeah, let's see, I had a planning board meeting last night, which is a work session. Bulk of that was a discussion on the CIP process. This morning, Wolfeboro Community TV meeting. Last week, I had a Friends of Libby Museum meeting. Last Friday, went up to the Libby and met Cobb Hill up there. They're bringing a bunch more subs in to look at the project up there to fine-tune the cost. And I attended a couple of budget committee meetings with you folks last week.
How come 3 of you?
For the warrant articles.
Yeah, we did the warrant articles, and I also had a milfoil.
Town managers?
Yeah, I attended all those same budget committee meetings as well. I think we're done at this point, which is a blessing.
Yeah, we almost are.
A blessing in my household. But we're done. The budget is done. We went through, we've done the taping, so we're in good shape. That's pretty much in a position now where we will send it to DRA, get them to sign off on it, and we'll move forward. The other thing of major significance, as everybody is very well aware, I think at this point, fire department had an incident the other evening down to the Harvest Market.
Hunters.
Sorry, Hunters. And I can say that when I heard it, the dispatch went out. I looked out my window. And at the same time, I heard on the scanner the engine say they saw smoke from Main Street. I as well saw smoke and a glow from my residence. I came down, walked around, observed the fire department in operation. I would just like to say that the fire department did an outstanding job in preventing the exposures of that building from becoming negatively impacted by the fire. Further, it was not just the fire department, it was the highway department, it was the water department, it was everybody involved, the police department, dispatch, mutual aid. I know there's people that I'm missing, but it all came together, and I think this community has something that they can be proud of, because all of your town employees came together in a very, very challenging situation, and those who responded acted in a professional manner. And as a guy who spent a long time in the fire service, retired here as a fire chief, it was hard to stay out of the chief's way, but I tried to do it the best that I could. And I think that the town should be thankful for what we've had. Nobody got hurt. And lastly, I did have a brief meeting with the operations manager, with the fire chief. They are chomping at the bit to get moving. We have discussed with them if they need office space to meet with their employees or to meet with insurance companies. We'd work with them to help provide that. But this is a pretty special community to see how everybody's come together in what was a tragedy and what could have been a whole lot worse. So thank you, Chief, and thank you to everybody who responded.
Yeah, Chief, you did a fantastic job.
Yes.
If I may, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. I know we all do. I've been accused of overusing sports analogies for a long time, but I'm going to do it again. What we do is a team sport. We have some very talented people on our staff. The towns around us have some very talented people on their staffs. The other town departments, Steve was there almost as long as I was, and most, if not all, of the highway department was there. The water treatment plant operators were there. I'm trying to think of who, and I'm going to miss people, but I think we counted 17 towns who were involved in that. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that although I think we all agree it could have been much worse, we do have 50 people out of work. So a lot of folks have reached out to us and reached out to the police department, I think, and others, and expressed their support, and we absolutely appreciate that. But I think we need to remember that we're pretty well taken care of. We have people who are going to need our support in the next couple of months and year and so forth. I did have the opportunity to meet this morning with the building official and the owner of the Shop and Save. He's already got plans he's working on to rebuild. The town planner was off today, but he's coming back tomorrow to meet with Tavis. So we think this is going to move pretty quickly when we're hoping. That said, again, we appreciate all the thoughts. If you would ask me Monday afternoon if we would have 5 aerial devices, a deck gun, and a ground monitor running in the middle of downtown Wolfeboro, I said, no, there's no way. But there it was. Again, the other town departments, police department on down, the highway guys kept it, so I think I may have been the only one who slipped on the ice in the parking lot at one point and fell down, but it's just something we, obviously by ourselves, we'd still be there. Again, it's just, at this point in my career, my goal is to keep things pointed in the right direction and put the right people in the right place and get out of the way. And that's kind of what I did the other night. And we're still here to talk about it. So at the end of the day, the biggest thing in my mind was nobody got hurt. You know, they're insured, and it's unfortunate, and it's going to be an economic impact for a lot of people for a while. But they're here to have an economic impact. Nobody got hurt.
Can you list the towns that came to our aid?
I did, and I got to admit, I'm still in a little bit of a fog.
Yeah.
I'll miss one, but we did in our press release, we listed them all. And to be honest, it's not really them all, because for every town in our mutual aid system and outside it who came here with an engine or a ladder or both or 2 engines, somebody somewhere else backfilled their town to cover it while they were here. And I don't, to be honest, I haven't had time to study the dispatch logs. I don't even know who they are. But we caused some movement pretty much all over central New Hampshire the other night. I did hear a funny story where a town in the Lakes Region Dispatch was asked to cover Middleton. Middleton sent at least 2 engines to us. They were sitting at dockside, if you were there and saw it, pumping up the hill. And when Belmont was toned, apparently there was an exchange with dispatch. Where? You want us to go where? There were some unusual things. Rochester came to help us. My understanding was some of the towns along the way had some towns from the seacoast parked with them to provide station coverage. The folks in our station, while we were busy. We're Barnstead and Farmington, and they covered a call for us while we were busy. I just, we can't thank everybody enough who dropped everything and just were there for, in a lot of cases, 12 hours. We just hope we can, do what we can to help those folks get this thing rebuilt and get back in business and do what we can for the employees in the meantime.
It's strange because in the last month or so, I've had 3 different families that have moved into Wolfeboro or a town next door and had the opportunity to talk to them. And all 3 have said that they came from places that when they came to Wolfeboro or this area, that New Hampshire is the most caring community. They don't call their town. They said New Hampshire is the most caring community with people that are willing to help each other more than anything they've ever seen before.
I can't argue with that. I do know at one point yesterday morning when we were awaiting the state fire marshal and so forth, and things had kind of calmed down a little bit, people would walk up, and at least one gentleman who would be known to you, but I won't use his name, he said, I don't kind of follow what goes on. I'm not an expert in the fire service. I see that you guys replaced your ladder truck. I never quite understood why a town this size with buildings the size we have really needed a ladder truck. But he said, I was here last night and now I know why. And I think at one point, I turned to Luke at one point early on and said, if anybody ever asks you why Wolfeboro needs an aerial, take a picture of this and show it to them. At that time, I think we had 3. We ended up with 5. The question did come up. No, our new aerial was not there. It's still not in service. We're close, but we're not quite there yet. It'll be going back to the dealer in Mass Tuesday for about 2 days for the last of the compartment fit up and stuff, and then shortly thereafter the factory trainer will be here to put on the official factory training and so forth, and I expect shortly thereafter we'll be able to say it's in full service. Again, I thank everybody, Steve and the rest of the town staff who just dropped everything and we said I need, and it was done. Hopefully we haven't had too many reports of damage in homes or anything, because we reversed the flow of the water system there for a little while, which doesn't happen too often. But we were able to get our water supply switched over to primarily the draft sites and get off the town system, which I understand resolved the issue. But as you probably saw, that's pretty labor intensive, but we managed to make it work. The next couple of days we'll be providing witness statements and some of the pictures we took and some videos that we took and that were supplied to us by primarily town employees and others to the fire marshal's office. The cause is officially right now listed as undetermined, but it's still under investigation. But it's probably safe to say we may never know exactly what caused it due to the extent of the damage. We've ruled out a few things. There's no indications of any criminal intent or activity, no open doors, nothing that would indicate it was anything other than an accident. Some of you are aware we've had at least 2 fires that I'm aware of there in the past. It goes back a few years now, but they were both electrical, and to be honest, that's kind of where my head's going. Although we may never prove that, that's kind of what we're thinking. Beyond that, if anybody here, anybody who may be watching or listening has any questions about something they saw or heard, feel free to reach out to us. I tried to keep the press release fairly minimal because there was far more pictures and video floating around on the internet than we could ever do justice, so it's all out there. And certainly not last but least, we thank you folks for supporting what we're trying to do over the last few years and move forward with equipment and so forth. And again, I think we saw the value of that the other day. There were a couple of issues with minor mechanical issues, not with any of our apparatus, but we had to overcome a few things along the way to make that all work. We managed to do that, but in the back of my head, I thought you know, the way we've been able to upgrade our maintenance program and stuff, that's when that kind of thing pays off. And hopefully we'll never have to do that again, because if anything, that's reiterated to me that this is a young person's game. My back still hurts from standing around the other night. But again, we do appreciate everything everybody's reached out and said and so forth over the last couple of days, and hopefully we can move forward and help the employees and the management down there get past this and move on. And
I've had condolences from people from New York, from Connecticut, from Massachusetts, and from New Hampshire, as far as an hour-away condolences on us losing our store, and congratulations on how well the fire department contained it from that many locations, emails or texts. So it's not just even Wolfeboro. People all over New England.
Oh, I'm getting messages from people who say, I saw you on TV. Well, I wish it was under better circumstances, but yeah, you probably did. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Again, we're around if anybody has any questions or saw something and didn't quite understand what it was, we'd be happy to run it down for you.
Thanks, Chief.
Jim, anything else?
That's it.
Any questions from the press?
Well, yes, the fire is an event that will reverberate within all of us and within our town for a long time. It certainly was just amazing that the fire was able to be contained. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I want to bring up a much smaller issue. Kathy Fairman brought up parking, and I know I have heard mention of parking meters. And I was reading a Conway Daily Sun article, and apparently the town manager has established the legality of establishing a parking meter program. And the plan is to charge $2 an hour, and it's estimated to bring in $175,000 of revenue annually. The deputy town manager believes the revenue estimates will pan out because they rely on a conservative 50% parking utilization average. And the money is supposed to go to the highway department. And so if the highway budget was $2 million, the parking fees, they bring in $500,000, the taxpayers would pay only $1.5 million. So I hope that is something that is considered when you have a parking committee. The businesses in North Conway were not exactly sold on it, it doesn't sound like, but they've looked into it further. And I understand some of these things can be managed remotely to the fees, the parking fees and all that sort of thing. Of course, we're a much smaller town, but maybe it would help alleviate some of our parking problems in the summer and help our businesses also. So, thank you for listening. That's it.
Okay, is there any public input?
I apologize, but after the fact, a few minutes after I sat down earlier, I realized I am confused a little bit about our next steps. And I realize because I usually see a consideration of a motion and then I'm writing down what needs to be done. So I understand the full discussion that you kindly offered tonight and some other offers to help, but is there, like, what happens next for this, like right now? What am I don't know. I just need some clarity.
I guess what I was saying is I was hoping that we as a town could kind of look at the options and take a look at the two paths, find out if we could do a smaller trail and do it in a short period of time to come up with some kind of an option. That's what I, or no options, but we spend the time to deal with some of the issues. Do we change it one side of the road? What happens to the drainage? Can we put a mat down? Dave said it will have something that we can make it smaller, which makes it easier, and get all those things put together as soon as we can.
Okay, so
that was what I was hoping. I don't know where the rest of them, that was what I was suggesting.
I'm wondering how we can keep the drainage going with snow over the top of it. I'm wondering if usually the people have already figured stuff out like this. They have snowmobile trails all across the streets up north and in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Well, then maybe we don't want to move it to the other side. That's the kind of thing I want.
Well, he said there's 3 on each side.
Well,
and
we've had
each
it
way
there
we're
before.
covering 3.
Well,
We've had it there before.
Yeah.
So that's, I
don't mean to take up more of your time. I just need to go back and say, okay, we're, kind of like an ABC of what needs to happen to have it possibly happen this season if the conditions are right with the weather. So that's all.
Jim, how long do you think it would take us to get something like that together? Is that something that we can get some staff time on and maybe?
I can certainly work with staff to get some things together. I think one of the challenges, and I think I need some input from Mary to get some greater clarity and guidance. If the lake does not freeze, do we build this trail?
Our response would be absolutely yes, please. It's not dependent on the ice. It's 2 opportunities as we see it. There are people riding on the existing trails maintained by the Wolfeboro Snowmobile Club and other clubs in the state, can access from, say, Moose Mountain on land, can access from Wakefield. We could bring those people in via land into Cape Park, into town.
Let me put together a couple of options.
Yep.
And I think the other takeaway is, and I think Dave nailed it, to be able to have the Snow Machine Club look at a smaller unit for a drag to take care of this, because taking that large machine down through there is problematic. And as well, I think the other thing that's problematic with it is this is a trail that should be low speed, so it does not need to be groomed immaculately. But let me do some work with staff and come up with a couple of options. And I'll watch the weather, and if it boils down that, all of a sudden we're getting significant amounts of snow, if I've got to call a meeting of the board next Wednesday to make a decision based on what I put together, I can do that.
I think that's what kind of, as I was saying, is to get it going, get our options, and to know and decide, and,
We're down the town docks, too. We have curtains down there. For construction, we can certainly throw a curtain in at the end of the dock. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to harm the dock anyway. So if that's something that, Jim, if that's something you figure out, we can certainly throw one in for the winter. We're there anyways.
And whether we do the snowmobile trail through town, would we not want to drop that curtain anyhow and bring them into Cape Park, which is what we have always allowed?
Right.
If the lake doesn't freeze, Cape Park can be accessed only from the rail trail, and then Cape Park becomes a dead end.
Well, but
Parking lot.
Yeah, parking lot.
Was just saying, if he had a curtain, and if we're going to do it,
Yeah.
now's the time to do it,
Right.
not wait, and that we would, is the board in agreement that we'd let them come into Cape Park whether we did the path or not?
well,
And I
more
think
information.
the other question I would just have for Mary is, just for my own knowledge of putting this together, is this trail accessible by ATV as well?
No.
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 ATVs are not allowed on the
Snowmobile trails, yeah.
snowmobile trails.
Yeah,
Big
it's,
room.
yeah,
Well, the only way they're allowed on is they have to be less than 52 inches wide, weigh under 1,000 pounds, have skis on the front and tracks on the back.
Yep.
Okay,
That's the trail master for the state of New Hampshire.
interesting. Okay.
That's why I bought my Honda Pioneer, because it meets all those statistics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll put some stuff together.
So, and I'll reach out to you then, and then I'm available to you, Jim, as we move along. And then the ice curtain is, you're making that decision.
I'll have a conversation with Luke in a couple days.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any more public input? Not on to the motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I gotta go home. Clark.